Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mast, and in front of me right now, I've got the 4.8 SMITE patch notes. I thought I'd do something a little different with the channel, and I thought I would actually do some patch notes today. When I do patch notes, I'm not going to go over the skins. I'm not going to go over a lot of the art stuff, because that's not me. Normally, I wouldn't read that even if I was looking at patch notes without doing a video on it. So we're going to skip past this stuff. If that bothers you, watch someone else's patch notes, check it out for yourself. I'll put a link in the description, of course, with the notes so you can read them on your own and take some looks at them. So what we're going to be focusing on is the balance, item changes, god changes, and changes to the season itself. So first up, general balance. They're addressing snowball because we've had a lot of problems with snowballing. If you don't know what snowballing is, basically that's when you get a little bit extra to start. You kind of get started well, and then that small increase at the start just continues to grow, and you get way better than the other team. Normally this is basically farm, so it's like, you know, that one first blood, for example. You take that farm and it just snowballs. Maybe you take a buff, and what happens is you get more buffs because you have that advantage. So it's basically when getting an advantage gets you an even bigger advantage, and it just kind of continues to get better and better for you. And so in this season so far, it's really happened level 1, level 2. You clear a wave, you're still level 1, and if you outclear, you go invade. You hit level 2. If they try to contest you, you're hitting level 2, so you kill them. If they don't contest you, then you're taking their buffs, hitting level 2, and you just kind of continue to outfarm them. So it's been pretty bad. It's not the worst thing. The biggest thing is definitely in the duo lane. If you outclear duo, you go take buffs, you hit level 2, you come back to lane, and their duo lane can't hit level 2 because unlike mid and jungle, there's not really another buff to just go easily get. So the problem in the jungle is with solo lane and the jungle and the mid roll, speed buff very important for the jungler. You want to be getting that. If they invade, it's not necessarily easy to invade their speed back, so that's a problem. Biggest problem is in the duo lane where they can invade purple and red buff, and the duo lane can just get way ahead. So that's basically what's going on. That's what they're talking about with snowball. That's what snowballing is right now, and they're trying to address that. So basically, yeah, the problem is around hitting level 2 first. And in the solo lane, they're saying the solo laner with the higher clear is able to rush over the fire elementals, take the smalls, and hit level 2. And that's true. That's a problem. In solo, I would say it's not as big of a problem because with those fire elementals, yes, you're hitting level 2, but in solo, you get level 2 in one creep. So it is a problem. I don't think it's good. It's like, it's great that you can outfarm someone if you outclear them. I think that's okay. But when you're getting that huge level 2 difference, that can be important. It really varies on the solo lane or how much that matters, though, because as long as you can clear that one creep pretty quickly, it doesn't matter too much. But it's still an issue. You know, I'm just saying it's not as bad in the solo. More of an issue with duo and a little less so mid and jungle. So what they're doing is they're changing the player experience levels. They're decreasing the amount of experience from level 1 to level 2 from 308 to 225, and that's a really big difference. That's about 2 creeps. So you're going to be hitting level 2 in the duo lane if you get every single creep. And when you're just basically one-on-one in the solo lane, when you're just getting a wave on your own, then you're going to hit level 2 and I would guess like a third from the wave. So you're going to be hitting level 2 off of waves. And that seems all good, right? Basically, the idea is you're supposed to be getting level 2 instead of having one go level 2 and one go level 1. And in a way, that's a correction, but it's kind of an awkward correction because you still have this problem where, okay, well, maybe you still outclear them and you hit level 2 and the other lane still has to clear. And so now you have this option of maybe invading is a little bit harder now, but you have this problem where you're level 2, your enemies are level 1. Depending on your character, you just use your new ability, assuming that you have your other ability on cooldown. You get one extra ability now because you just leveled up, and you can use that to go engage on the enemy duo lane. So there's going to be certain characters that's huge, certain characters where it's not. But you're definitely going to see a big impact from that, especially in the duo lane. And think of it this way. Think of if you get outcleared in the duo lane, they just finished clearing your wave, you're getting pushed back, you're against an Onher, for example. So Onher's used his Impale to clear the wave. He doesn't quite have it off of cooldown yet. He's getting it back, and he hits level 2. You're not far enough back. You're not playing super back. You're not playing super safe, which you just don't want to be in general in the duo lane. You're trying to still clear the wave. So you're still trying to clear, which means he's close enough to you that when he gets his jump from hitting level 2, he can leap onto you and engage you. And basically what that means is you normally won't die here, because normally, especially in the duo lane, hitting level 2 like that, you're not going to have the distance to be able to kill someone, but you're going to get extremely pressured. So you still have a similar problem. You're just kind of changing the problem. So that's what I'm suspecting with this patch, is that you're basically going to be seeing a change that will fix the level 1 to level 2 issue and create a specifically level 2 issue. So I'll see how it works out. But I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen, is that you're going to see this thing where, especially in the dual lane, you're going to get lots of engagements where one side is level 2 and the other side is level 1, and that side gets pushed out. And once you get pressured out in the dual lane, that means that that team can go invade buffs still. So I think that's still a problem. What I think needs to happen is I think we need to see changes to the jungle timers. We saw that in this season, jungle timers got changed to 30 seconds after minions spawn at 0, jungle buff spawn at 30. And I think jungle buff should really be spawning at either 20 or 25. I want to see them do it. I want to see what happens. And then from there, make a change, because it's probably not going to be perfect. But do one of those times, ideally 25, see if that's enough to make buffs viable to start at. Because the problem we're seeing, especially in the dual lane, is you've got purple buff, you've got red buff, and you have small camps normally aren't an issue. But basically purple buff and red buff are two big buffs that offer a lot of experience. And what happens is the jungler pretty much needs speed buff. Speed buff is the most important early buff in the game because it allows the jungler to rotate, and one assassin practically cannot fight another assassin if one has speed buff and the other doesn't, just because that 20% movement speed is basically full boots, and that's huge in fighting because it means one person can just straight up run away or straight up engage if they want to. That's just 20% movement speed is really, really big. And so speed buff is the most important buff on the map, which is away from the duo lane. So you have to give that up if you want to help your duo lane out, and that really hurts the jungler. So it's not a simple fix of junglers going over the duo lane side and helping out if their team's going to get invaded, because then they lose other buffs on that side, which are important. Similarly, blue buff can be really important for the solo laner. It depends on the solo laner and how they're playing, but blue buff is normally really important too and can really hurt the lane there. So it's one of those things where it's basically whoever has the strongest clear gets a huge advantage right now, just because junglers aren't able to rotate as early as they were in past seasons, because you're starting the jungle buffs 30 seconds later, and that's a really big deal. So if you have something where the timers for jungle buffs are earlier, so if your team is going to get invaded because they're simply going to outclear, they have two gods in the dual lane that are going to have better clear than you, then you can potentially start at a buff and basically take that buff away from them in advance and kind of limit their invade potential is really the big thing, because it's so hard to rotate over the dual lane as a jungler. As a jungler myself, as someone who's messed with mid, it's hard for either of those roles to really support early on. So it's kind of just free farm for the enemy dual lane if they have more clear. Moving on, I've kind of gone on that for a while. I'm just trying to explain it. Increase the amount of experience from level 2 to level 3. This is really awkward, and I really don't like it. Basically, what they're trying to do with this is they're trying to make up for the fact that they just changed the experience amounts. I don't know why they feel like they need to do this, because it's kind of gross. It's like bad taste, where level 1 to level 2 is 225, level 2 to level 3 is 430, because basically they're taking off about 75 experience here, so they want to add on about 75 experience here, so everyone can be hitting level 20 as they have before, so they're not making as big of a change overall, theoretically. I'm assuming that's what they're thinking. But what they're doing is they're making the experience you need to go from level 2 to level 3 twice what it is for level 1 to level 2. And that's really awkward. And that means you're getting this very delayed level 2 stage, which is just going back to my point to some degree. You're going to have characters that really excel with that second ability. And most gods, I've noticed that in Smite, one of the most balanced levels is level 3, because a lot of characters have extra scaling. Like they might have an extra ability they need. They might need all 3 abilities. They might need scaling on one of their abilities. Because you get some characters where it's just they need 2 abilities, some where they really need scaling on one of those abilities, like Ares to do well. Ares' 2 does almost, or Ares' chain, I should say, does almost twice as much damage once you level it. And there's some characters that need all 3 abilities at the same time if they really want to be very successful. Agni is a good example of that. Agni has so little potential if you don't have his stun yet. You get him his stun, he does a lot more. Thor's wall is really important. It sets up his 1, it's really good CC. A Wheelix, her jump, that's a little less true with a Wheelix because she's just so ridiculous at early levels, but you get a lot of characters like that where that's important, and so having that option to get their 3rd ability is a big deal, and it's going to be really delayed with that, so that's pretty awkward. I don't like that much at all. The Gold Fury adjustments, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't really care much about where Gold Fury is right now, so I kind of like it though. The thing I like about it is that I think towers should be worth more early on, so this will make Gold Fury a little bit less of a priority, and it'll make tier 1 towers a little more viable. One of the things that I would love to see changed in Smite is I would love to see it be more valuable for you to take out a tier 1 tower, just because it's, you know, it's taking less focus from jungle buffs and from jungle bosses and putting it more towards towers, which are just, it's just more interesting to me personally when you have more feasible options, when it's more viable to trade a tower for Gold Fury than it is right now. Normally trading a tower for Gold Fury is terrible, so it's nice to see at least Gold Fury get nerfed a little bit that way. So I'll see how it works out. Bug fixes, gonna skip past this, don't really care about it. On to item changes, we'll talk about that a little bit. Emperor's Armor, this is kind of an interesting item. The thing is, it doesn't really have much of a place in Smite. The big thing with Emperor's Armor is it's so focused around sitting under tower. And the problem with sitting under tower is going a little bit back to what I was saying before. Pushing is not super important in Smite until you get really late game and you're really trying to take down towers, take down Phoenixes and end. Because you have Portal Demon, you have Gold Fury, and you have Fire Giant, and those are all very powerful objectives that offer you gold for your entire team and experience for your entire team. And of course, Portal Demon and Fire Giant offering another reward along with that. And basically, with that, what you're getting is something where it's more neutral and safer to attack than a tower. And because of that, some item like Emperor's Armor, where you're sitting under a tower and increasing that tower's capability, that's great for somebody that's trying to dive a tower and trying to siege a tower. But there are other objectives on the map that are so strong that you normally don't see that until you get late in the game and you just need to do it. And so it's an item that I don't think has a great place in Smite right now, but I'm guessing, and I could be wrong, the fact that Hi-Rez is finally touching this item at the same time they touch Gold Fury, I think is going on a little bit alongside the Gold Fury change. I think they're trying to come a little bit away from how these neutral objectives like Gold Fury and Portal Demon are used for farm, and trying to make towers a little bit more of a source for farm, where if you're trying to siege an objective as a team just for experience and gold, towers are a more viable option, and having Emperor's Armor increased is going to make defending towers a little more important, of course, when you're getting more farm out of them, which makes Emperor's Armor a little bit better. So I don't think it has a big spot right now in the game, but when you see that attack speed buff of 40% to a tower, that's actually pretty powerful. So if you are getting sieges, that's a pretty capable item. Towers, of course, do a lot of damage, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think as Smite continues to move towards towers becoming more important to take, I could definitely see this item being viable. For now, I don't think it's going to be. Sorry, I'll stop swaying. I do a lot of this sometimes when I read. Hasten Fatalis change, removing the basic attack penalty. Ooh. Oh, sorry, I don't know why I stopped there. I've already read this item change, so I don't know why I did that, because they're not actually taking away the basic attack penalty. Okay, I'll go on. It allows for amazing chasing potential, juke potential, and overall fun. On the flip side, when this is included almost universally, not university, in hunter builds, it can become very frustrating. So they're shifting the item from a cheap core item to an expensive luxury item. With Fatalis, I have some thoughts that are very different from the changes they're making. I don't think Fatalis should be expensive. I think they should be keeping it a very auto attack focused item that is fairly cheap. And the thing is, when you saw Fatalis in the past, let's think Season 1, Season 2, Fatalis was almost never picked up. It was picked up on characters like Bakasura and Freya and, well, not Kronos, but if Kronos had the changes he had, then it would be Kronos, before he actually, or after he had the auto attack debuff. Or auto attack nerf, I should say. But the thing is, Fatalis did not used to have penetration. So one of the big things that has increased Fatalis's capability is for gods that are using abilities, either with their auto attacks or before their auto attacks or whatever. If they have abilities worked in, Fatalis is a little bit of a nerf to their damage because it doesn't offer power, it doesn't offer penetration in the past, I'm saying. Which means their abilities aren't hitting any harder when they get that item. So it's purely an auto attack item. It's purely for that. And now it's got 10 penetration, and that 10 penetration is going to increase your ability damage by a decent amount. Normally, what you can think of for how hard you're hitting, normally 10 pen is about a 10% damage buff. And of course, the math is going to vary on that, but the way protections and penetration work in the game, it's going to be pretty similar to a 10% damage buff. So think, if you're on her, going back to on her for this example, and your Impale is doing 300 damage, you get Fatalis, your Impale now does 330 damage. So you're still getting an increase to your ability damage because of the pen, and then you also get attack speed, you also get the Hasten Fatalis passive. So that's why it's become so much stronger and so much more viable. So they can increase the cost, that's okay. But I think that really the best solution for them is to go back in time, take away the pen, keep the attack speed, and make it a more auto attack focused item and less of just an 80 carry item, because hunters have enough damaging abilities that that pen is really valuable. Shogun's Kasari, this is going to make it OP, but I think it's actually an interesting change, and I like having very aura focused items like this. So this item's going to be 2200 gold, 50 magical protection, and a 25% attack speed aura. So part of the problem with this is when you're seeing double hunters become more and more viable, when you're seeing hunters in mid and hunters in the duo lane, buffing this seems like a stupid idea to me. But at the same time, I really like items like this. So I have mixed feelings on it. But like basically I would love to see more aura items like this in the game. I don't think this is at all the time for it. So I don't like that they're making this change just because it's going to be OP. But it's going to be very good. So get it if you're supporting, basically. God changes. Ares gets 3 more protections. Don't really care. That's going to make him a little bit stronger. Not game breaking at all. Chronos changes. This is kind of an interesting change. He's got a tiny base damage increase to stop time. Whatever. Basically, it's going to be a little bit of a buff. Not a big deal. Rewind is getting a cooldown decrease on the early level. So it's still scaling to 80 seconds as it should be. But it's going to be 100 seconds to start. I think that's a good change. I would still love to see Chronos go back to his old state. I think the change they made to him is dumb. I think that Chronos should absolutely have a Fatalis effect. I know they want to take that out of the game, but you broke his character when you did that. And he's not a character that should be played as much of a mage. So much of what was fun about his playstyle is that auto attack thing that he had going for him, where he had not only Fatalis, but he had better than Fatalis. He had what you see with the upgraded sprint right now, or Heavenly Wings, or whatever it's called, I can't remember. You get that upgrade where auto attacking at all has no movement penalty. It doesn't have to hit, it can just be anywhere, and you still have no movement penalty. And that's really, really valuable. And so until they make a big increase to his ability damage, or a big change to his second ability accelerate, he's just not going to be good until then. Because he just doesn't do enough damage and he's not mobile enough. Sure, he can rewind, but he's not scary enough after he rewinds because his 2 got nerfed so hard at the beginning of the season. Mana cost decrease, not a big deal at all. Jingwei change is actually a little bit interesting. What they're doing is they're making it a lower base cooldown to start with, so it's 18 seconds instead of 20 seconds. And, ooh, loud car outside. Okay, so now it provides 10 to 30 power based on the level and 20% movement speed when you use it. This is her dash. And when it's used in the air from her 1, or just you're in the air, it's going to be increased from 20 to 40 power and 30% movement speed. So especially early on, this is going to be a pretty big deal, because 20 power, like level 1, level 2, is huge. Let's think, like in the duo lane, normally you're starting either Bluestone boots or Death Toll boots, or maybe Bluestone and then tier 1 of Transcendence, whatever that's called, Morningstar, I think. So, you know, for 10 power, basically think if you had 2 Death Tolls in terms of damage, that's a pretty big increase. I mean, really, you can just think, I guess to make it simpler, you're dealing almost 10 more damage. You're dealing about 8 more damage with 10 more power. So if your autos are hitting for 50, they're now going to be hitting for 58. Or with 20 power, it's going to be more like 66. So it's a really big damage increase. And when you're trading with another hunter, or if you're just clearing wave, you're going to have a way bigger advantage than you would have before, where you just kind of would have traded evenly. So that's really good. I don't know if it's really going to be enough to make Jingwei viable, but it's going to make her a lot better, and it's a start. Decreased mana cost, again, I don't really care. It's so small. Of course, if you play the character, you know, good for you. Your character's a little better, but it's not a big deal. It's not really worth talking about. Ravana change, good change here. Ravana's, whenever you get abilities like this, 10-hand Shadow Fist, level 1, 120 damage before. And that's disgusting how big that is, because you get a lot of abilities. Normally an ability hits anywhere from, at level 1, a lot of the time it's going to be 70 to 90. Then you get these occasional abilities like Odin Jump, which will be hitting at like 100 to 140, and they're really, really strong because of that, because they've got a huge damage increase over the regular ability. So toning this down, I think, is good, especially because Ravana is already so strong in those early levels. It's part of why he's come back, is because it's level 1, level 2 is very, very good. So they're decreasing the base damage by 20. They're keeping the late game damage, the level 5 damage, which is good. Mystic Rush needed a nerf to damage reduction. It was at 50%. It's now going to 40%. And I think that's a good change as well. I like that they're not overdoing it. They're not trying to nerf him into the dirt and see what happens. They're just making it 40%. I think that's around where it probably should be. I think it's like 30% is honestly probably a little too low. Probably 35 or 40% is really where it should stay. Serket, they're making a change to my baby. I don't know how to feel about it because I think it's kind of a good change, but I don't want to see her nerfed. So what they're doing is they're decreasing the poison damage at 2 poisons, keeping the damage at 3 poisons, by the way, just changing it to 2 poisons from 15% to 10% of the target's maximum health. So basically, if you hit your target with or you hit your enemy with Serket's 2, and then Serket's 1, and then you auto attack, it would give you 15% of their health and damage. So that was really big. That was a huge thing for her burst. It was a huge thing for her poke, because she could 2-1 you, auto you, and then jump out with her 3. And I really like that. They're changing it to 10%, so it's going to be a little weaker now. So I'll just kind of have to see how it is in game. It's a nerf, but at the same time, it's still strong. 10% still a lot of damage. So I'll just kind of see how it plays out. So I think it's potentially a good change. I personally wasn't really worried about where Serket was, but clearly Hi-Rez was. They're also changing her ult, so it does a little bit less damage at the early levels. I think that's probably a good change. I think her ult probably did do a tiny bit too much damage early. And it's also making the numbers not dumb. 228 to 684 is really awkward. They've been trying to clean up a lot of those awkward numbers like that. So that's honestly part of why I'm okay with it, is just because they're cleaning it up a little bit as well. Wukong, love this change. Oh my god, give me more. Give me more changes like this. Increased physical power scaling from 50 to 60% on Cudgel, which is his 1, and increased power scaling from 50% to 65% on Master's Will, which is his 2. And I love this change. I want to see more scaling changes like this, because warriors are stuck in this little bubble right now. It sucks. They're in this little bubble, like really, really small bubble. Oh, hang on. Really small bubble of what they can do. Because they've got this thing, which is basically most warriors have low cooldowns. They have decent amount of base damage, at least like okay base damage, and really low scaling, like the Wukong 50% scaling, or even lower. So it's normally around 50%, maybe 60% at the highest, but normally 60% or lower. And what that means is that building power isn't very rewarding because your scaling is low. And basically, you know, scaling is how much of your power actually applies to the ability. So if you've got 100 power and your scaling is 50%, only 50 of that power is applied to that ability. And so assassins will normally be anywhere from 70% to about 110% on the strongest abilities, highest scaling abilities. And with Wukong and a lot of the other warriors, it's closer to 50%. So while it's more viable to build power on lots of assassins, it's much less so on warriors. And what that means is you build cooldown reduction, you build things like Breastplate, Shield of Regrowth, Jotun's Wrath for the cooldown reduction, not for the power, and the pen. The pen actually is good. But you basically do build penetration, cooldown reduction, and defense, and you rely on the base damage of your abilities, and you don't have good options outside of that. Unless you're Osiris, if you're someone like Osiris or Erlang, you do have some other options because you're an auto attack warrior, which there aren't a lot of. So your options do open a little bit with those characters, but with gods like Wukong, they're very ability based and they get very limited because their scaling is low. So I think that's a very cool change. I'm happy to see it, just because whenever you open the window a little more to see builds like Transcendence Wukong, or just, you know, just any power items where you're adding on to just Jotun's Wrath, Breastplate, defense, if you're working in an extra power item to a warrior, it makes them a little less of just a tanky thing, and it gives them a little more outplay potential, a little bit more ability to try and solo somebody. I just think it's more fun when warriors have that opportunity. And finally, real quick last change to Terra, decreasing the movement speed buff on her ult from 30% to 20%. Terra ult is disgusting. 20% is a good change, I think, just because it's so good. Nerfing the movement speed is going to make it a little bit weaker, which I think is a good change. So that's the patch notes, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think, if you'd like to see me do things different, if you'd like to see me do more. I have no clue how long that took. Do I have a way to tell? I don't think I do. I don't think I have a way to tell. No clue how long that took. Hopefully it wasn't too long of a video. But I like kind of diving into a little bit what I think with Smite and where the game is at. And hopefully you all enjoyed as well. I'm assuming that's why a lot of you are subscribed to the channel, because you like seeing what I'm doing as far as gameplay videos, because I like to break down the game a little bit there. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'll see you all next time. I've got some more Conquest videos coming out soon, a little less 1v1. So if you want to have a little influence on what mode I'm uploading, I'm playing 1v1 right now and not recording it. So if you care enough that you want to see some 1v1, give me some God requests. I'll play through those. I've been playing a lot of off-meta picks. As I rank up, I'll have to focus more on actually winning, but for now, I can play whatever I want. I just won a game with Ravana. Ravana sucks in 1v1, so yeah, if you have any ideas, let me know. But again, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.